Afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon to you. Well, by this time, it's probably good evening. But either way, you know what I'm trying to say. Running a household. Wow. As an unmarried man running a household. Yeah, I did it for several years, I feel like I kind of had to retire from it a little early. No, but in all seriousness, running a household. I was talking to one of my buddies today. He's like a little cousin or like a little brother to me, Robbie. And, we were bouncing ideas off of each other, just talking. And, he wanted my advice on certain things, and won't get too deep into it. But the first time, and as many of you know, the first time when you're running a household, I think it's a little scary, but because you're already in the midst of doing it, you're just doing it. So you're like, hey, they're here, I'm here, we all just going to work this out. And as a guy, you're already used to, especially if you want to, if you're a real responsible man, although we make mistakes still being a responsible man, you understand the gravity of what's on your shoulders when things need to be paid, and when a lot of times you as the man, you're paying most of the bills, or you're paying a high percentage of the bills. Because let's face it, most times women are not going to want to go 50-50. And that's understandable also, because you're the guy, you take care of certain stuff. Hopefully around the house, she takes care of certain other things. And, because it's a true collaborative effort. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that it is still a daunting task at times. So let me talk about one part of it. And I was even talking to him about it. And the one part for me, I know was that I missed the way my life used to be structured. So because I started having kids late and trying to be somebody's dad late and all this other kind of stuff, I was kind of set into kind of the routine that I had and what I wanted to do. So it was difficult. It was difficult because, let me give you a for instance. Because I've had several long-term relationships, but hey, it was cool because I could go to your house, you can come to me, I can go to your apartment, you can come to me, stay over there with you a few days a week, you stay over here with me a few days a week. But really not having a structured situation where I lived with a woman full time, or she lived with me full time. So my day would be, I'd get home from work and I'd chill, hang out, do whatever, have barbecues on a Tuesday afternoon just for no reason, coming home, taking a 2.5 hour nap, waking up 6 o'clock, going out, doing whatever I wanted to do, just as a truly single man. But what happened was, as I said, you know what? Just like with anybody, it comes to a point where you meet somebody that you really like or love or fall in love with. And then you say, hey, look, as a man, what are the next steps? So for me, I'm just thinking, hey, look, I've seen a lot of my other friends do it. They've done a great job at doing it. Hey, so look, the next steps are, let's try to do the cohabitation thing, and then potentially marriage/kids. And of course, none of those things went in that order, but it did. It took me a lot to adjust, but the issue with the adjustment was a lot of times when I started to feel slighted as a man, when I started to feel like, oh man, I'm always home with the kids, or oh man, you know what I mean? I can't hang out with the homies tonight because, I need to do this, and this. And it did. It took some time for me to mature into the role of the leader of the household. But eventually I got it right, and I did it because I said, hey, listen, I want these kids to grow up. I want them to be better people than what I have been. So I'm thinking, hey, this can all work out. And so then you start getting into the groove of it. You start, like, hey, look, I've worked this out. Like, it's all good now. I am running my own household. Look at me. Let me stick my chest out a little bit. I'm running the show. And then you start to go through some turmoil. You start to have issues, and she's not seeing things the way you want her to see them, or maybe you're not seeing things the way she wants you to see them. So now there's friction. So then after the friction, it's, well, who's paying this bill? Well, I'm paying that bill. And like I told you with most men, I'm paying most of the bills. So why is it an issue if I want to do this, this, or this? Because see, now you're starting to say, hey, look, because like I always have told anybody, especially if I have lived with them, and there's very few people, it doesn't matter to me which household I am in. I'm the king of that household. And as I told Robbie earlier today, when the household goes bad, especially when there is a man and a woman there, whether married or unmarried, the man is going to get the blame for the shortcomings of that household. When there is a lack of discipline in the house, when there is a lack of irresponsibility going on in the house, when there are shut off notices, foreclosure, whatever's going on in the house, that is going to fall on the man. Because remember, most men, I think, want to be the leaders of their household, right? As they should be, especially, you believe in your Christian person, whatever. Most religions talk about, even if you're not religious, talk about being a man being the leader of his household, but saying that you have to be able to lead properly. You have to be able to provide certain things that if the household was less of man, meaning you not being there, probably wouldn't have. Things that should be fixed around the house, you got to step up and do it. And guess what? Even if you don't know how to do it. Shoot, I learned how to change fuses out. I learned how to be a plumber, everything. And in today's times, you got YouTube. You got YouTube University. So there are very few, and you may mess up one time or two. Now, when it comes down to big electrical stuff, I'd say leave that to the professionals because you don't want to blow yourself into the next lifetime. But with certain things, you have to at least give it a try. You have to be a man's man when it comes down to leading your household. And I say all of this stuff because a lot of times as men, we do question ourselves. We question, as running this household, as being the quote unquote king or man of the household, are we doing the best job that we can do? And a lot of times, like even me, I know, there were a lot of times out of frustration or, just different issues, or because, I was upset about something, or just like anything else. Sometimes you just get tired of arguing. Sometimes you just get tired of arguing with her. Sometimes you just get tired of arguing with the kids. Sometimes, you're just tired, because I just think naturally real men don't want to have to argue. And when I found myself becoming or feeling like I was less than a man because I had to indulge myself in arguments over and over and over again, I had to start thinking to myself. I had to retrain myself. I had to say, self, you know what? You're supposed to be the leader of this household. You are supposed to be the king of this household. But you're sitting back arguing like you're a commoner. And it took a while. It took a long while. It even took a while, even once I was not living in the same household again. It took a period of time where this is what I had to do. Because as I said to you earlier this week, if you watched one of the videos, as far as I tried to go to couples counseling before, we have to continuously train ourselves, because we do. We have some people that will get under our skin. So you know what part of my training is? Yeah, okay, I'll argue with you for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes if I can't get my point across. And I started thinking to myself, there were times when I used to sit and argue for hours. Hours. You ever done that before? You ever sat and argued with your mate for hours? Hours. And so I'm thinking to myself, what is this getting me? You know what I mean? You start losing your voice. Now you're thirsty. Your head start hurting. You know what I mean? You talking like that, arguing for hours, like a clown, not as the king or the man of the household, but as a clown, as a court jester that we talked about a few weeks ago. When you're supposed to be the king. And in being a king, even if it's just you and your household by yourself, you as the king, you have to make sure that things are functioning properly to the best that you can do in your kingdom. You know, we all fall off and we do certain stuff and we say, nah, you know what? Because I've done it. I can't do that. Or, you know what? I just don't have time to do that. Or whatever the case may be. But I'm here to tell you, sit down and try. You don't know how to hang drywall? Hey, look on YouTube. Go to Home Depot. Go to Lowe's. Look around. Hey, listen, they got plenty of stuff that will teach you how to do all of this stuff. And like I said, go right here on YouTube. And you need something figured out, there's 1,000 people on there that have already figured it out for you. And if it's something that you feel like is way above, or you don't want to blow up the whole house, like I said, then that's when you find a professional. But a lot of the stuff that we're fearful of doing because we haven't done it before is easier than a lot of times what we think. But running your household, being the king of the household, encompasses a lot of stuff. And it's not easy. And I commend you, especially my married guys out there who've been able to, you know, and even if you were married and got divorced, people who have taken that leap and said, hey, look, you know what? We're going to try to do this. We're going to do, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this. And I've chosen her as my wife, and I'm going to put my best foot forward. And I'm going to at least commit to doing something and being the true king of my house with my queen. Now, will I ever get there? Who knows? You know, I was talking to friends before other day, and I was one of the ones I really thought, you know, I would be married early. And I thought that, this would be a piece of cake. Yeah, you know, do this, go find a chick, you know, go back. I did one called 50 and Unmarried. You could check that out. But I thought that, you know, by this point, everything would have been love. You know, I wouldn't think I'd still be out. All right, what's your number? Such and such and such and such and such. Of course, gotten to the point now. Somebody, well, I'll give you my Instagram. No. We don't do all that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, this number, that number, you know, doing certain stuff. When I'm thinking by this point, I'm going to be chilling. You know, me, 3.5 kids, 2.5 dogs, 3.5 cars, 2.5 houses. But the crazy thing is, life don't work out like that a lot of times. But guess what? You can still make it work the way you want to make it work. And guess what? A lot of us out here are the kings of our domain, are the kings of our castle. So just in closing, if there's stuff that you need to do, if there are things that you want to do, if you're getting a lot of flack from your lady, hey, you stop and you say, hey, I'm the king of this household. I got it. You just be the queen. But hey, tell me what you think. Just one guy's opinion. Make sure you share this video. And until next time, live life. Don't let life live you.